Hello and welcome to the Redvee TV show, supported by Chapel House Cars for the 2024 season as we look ahead to a magic weekend, albeit in Leeds. Pleased to be joined by Peter this evening. Peter, how are you?
Hi, Kev. Nice to chat with you again. Yeah, a magic weekend in Leeds. Two phrases you never thought that would be squeezed together, but there we go. What can you say?
Exactly. We could get on and on and on about the choice of Ellen Road,
Yeah.
uh, what we think about Magic Weekend as a whole. We probably will leave that for this time. I do think, just very briefly, that it is an uninspiring choice. But when you've got it clashing with the Premier League start of the season,
Yeah.
yeah, and you've got places like Newcastle not letting you use their ground, you are kind of painted into a corner, right?
Well, this is it, and obviously I'm being completely unbiased and say that bringing it back to Murrayfield would be a good idea.
I think you'd have it at Fir Park if they could hold it, to be honest, Peter.
well, going with some of the attendances that you have towards the start of the day and the end of the day, magic with some of the games. To be honest, you could probably fit everyone inside for a part, but yeah, no, Murrayfield would be great for a couple of reasons because they've got the a kind of smaller stadium attached now to Murrayfield that Edinburgh use. So you could have less gaps between games because it's obviously a pitch that's accessible, so teams could be warming up on there, towards the end of the previous game. So, you don't have people hanging around for 30, 40 minutes in between games. You could get the games on quicker, teams warmed up, straight out, on with the action.
Well, the Scottish Tourism Board would do well to take you on for this, Peter. As it is, we're talking about Wello's magical extension is going to be the main topic of this show, I think. The news, obviously, that Paul Wellens has signed a deal. Well, people are saying it's an extension, but there was nothing mentioned in the release by Saints to say it was triggered a 1 year extension.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'll leave that up in the air as a little bit weird, but we do know he'll be in charge for 2025. Your initial thoughts?
Well, I think people wanted initially clarity to know what was happening. And Wello is the head coach, and we should absolutely all get behind him, as I'd mentioned. And I think on a group chat, there might be some people and on Twitter as well, that didn't want him to stay, still don't want him to stay, but people are entitled to their opinion on that. But the fact of the matter is, Wello is going to be the head coach. He's probably going to get a new assistant coming in. I think that's probably fair to say common knowledge. So everyone's got to get behind him. My thought was, well, I can't be two-faced and say that I didn't suspect that perhaps after the debacle at Lee, that if he perhaps, was to offer his resignation, that, that might have been an option that was considered. Who knows? Perhaps there was discussion within the club and Eamon said, look, no, we want you to stay. We've got absolute faith in you. Because I think if we're being honest, he might have been one more defeat away from not being the head coach. I think next year, if I'm being honest, it's a massive year for him. We could still be champions this year, and that, what I'm saying now, becomes absolutely, a waste of time, and I look like an absolute idiot. But we make our opinions, and we live or die by them. You know that yourself.
Yeah.
I'll be fully supporting Wello, but I think he will know, and everyone will know, even his most vociferous backers, that whatever happens this year, he has to have a good start next year, because the third year, when it was Kieran, the last club legend that took over, that's when it started to go wrong and became irretrievable. So everyone wants it to work, because there's nothing better for me than a club legend as a player, as a captain, then becoming a success as a head coach. It just feels right, and it hurts even more when it goes wrong, because you don't want to think badly of the guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think it kind of echoes what I think. I'm happy that the clarity is there for next year. I think this comes with a lot of responsibility in the fact that I think there are mitigating circumstances with having so many players and so many different players out injured and suspended, and him not having a proper full squad to pick from. And I say that with the caveat that I know everyone has injuries, but this is for us. We're talking about Saints. Couldn't give a care about anybody else. For us, this is unprecedented.
Yeah.
That said, some of the rugby when we've had what I'm going to class as a stronger team, so some of the performances, Hull KR away, Warrington in the cup, that needs to improve. Now, you could look at that and think, you know what, he's had these players who have been shifted about, moved positions, been in, been out, been in, been out, and it's not that settled kind of form. But I need to see a plan B and a plan C. I will always go back to, and I'm sorry to have to tar it with this, but playing against 11 against Washington when we were still trying to go up the middle. I get the theory of trying to tire them out, but there's gaps. You don't have to score on every set, but you should be. We should have been pulling Warrington from post to post to post to post all the time to try and get the points. And I think just going back to something you said about Eamon and what he said, his quote is, Paul has had to deal with the squad shorn of many of his star players for much of 2024. He deserves an opportunity to prove himself under better circumstances for the balance of this season and next, and to bring success to the club. We will be looking to improve and strengthen the squad in certain areas for next season, as well as strengthening the coaching team supporting Paul. So, and that to me, I don't know about you, Peter, but that to me says that at board level, we've identified that we haven't given the playing side of things the complete right tools that we probably should have, and there's a collective responsibility taken there.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you mentioned the Warrington match. Obviously, that was the last match that I was down for, and that was a pretty grim instant fan reaction video that night, let me tell you. But yeah, I mean, I suppose when you think about it, perhaps the responsibility is shared between Eamon, obviously guys like that, Mike Rush, you know, they don't shirk their responsibilities, you know, and perhaps they've thought, well, they've taken the view that the players who've, you know, had won 4 in a row and were playing really, really well and all kind of linked in well together as a fantastic team, deserve the opportunities to keep their jersey. Whereas maybe a kind of managed kind of changing of the guard, as it were, might have been a better approach. And maybe they're looking at thinking, right, we've got too many guys that are beyond their best, with all due respect to them. Guys who have served as well. Maybe at the time where they can bring in other bodies to support them and to give Wello and whoever's coming in next year to the chance to be the best that they can be. So if they give him the tools, and if it works, then great. If it doesn't, then there's kind of nowhere to go after that. But let's be positive. We all, as I say, want Wello to succeed because it's right. It didn't work with Kieran, and we all felt bad about that because Kieran's and still remains a club legend. And would love Wello to deliver a title, a Challenge Cup, either still win the title this year, and you know win big trophies consistently. It would just feel right. He's completing the cycle, as it were, from youth team player right through to successful head coach. It would be great, and I don't think anyone would deserve it more and would love it more than Wello himself.
Yeah, and I think that as I alluded to, we need to just see a little bit more flair from the team, I'd say.
Yes, absolutely.
Listen, when we played under Christian Wolf, it was a very, very similar style of play, but the pack was more dominant and could win you games, and we'd go away from teams in the last 20 minutes. We haven't quite got that. And I know people will rail about older players getting like extended contracts and the likes. You're not going to change everything all at once. It's not fair the bathwater.
No.
It is fully a kind of a period that you're going to have to change things, not necessarily slowly, but bit by bit, rather than just, right, you 10 or 11 are going of our first team squad. I'm not talking reserves that you do get a turnover. You're not going to get rid of 10 or 11, and hindsight's a wonderful thing.
Yeah.
It's easy to look back and think, well, maybe we should have started changing things, but these players have got credit in the bank for me, and that's why they've been given another year, another couple of years in the case of some, and you do want to see that improvement across the park. whether that be from your experienced players, but down to your players who are just coming through.
Absolutely, and I think one thing that needs to be injected into the team more than anything else is pace. It's literally in attack. The only thing that's genuinely lacking, people can say, "Well, there's not a lot of flair at halfback," but when you've got Wells below Max Dodd on their game, that's a great triumvirate there. That's going to have a good kicking game, have the smart play from Johnny and Jack just getting into the line, picking lines at exactly the right time, running at the right angle. It works beautifully. But we're missing a bit of pace. Both centre and the wing. Tommy can't do it all. And obviously he's going to be in the south of France next year. So I'll be interested to see who else we bring in the three quarters. That they're going to be big signings.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. That's okay, Peter. It's interesting to see where we go with it. But yeah, as I say, I think it's just time. People can still have the grumbles about who they think should coach the club. That's absolutely fine. You just hope that there's a little bit of improvement in our style of play. We'll go from talking about one legend to a couple of legends here. There is a fan forum in support of the 2026 Australia Academy Tour, the details of which are those three fellas you can see on your screen. Current number 9, Darrell Clarke, one of the greatest of all time in Kieran Cunningham, and arguably the greatest of all time in James Roby, will be getting together on Wednesday, the 4th of September. Doors open from 6:45 and the event starts at 7:30. It's at the Totally Wicked Stadium, and tickets are just £20 per person. This includes supper. We will retweet the Saints tweet and share it on our socials for all the contact details for getting involved in this forum. Promises to be an interesting one with plenty of tales from them three.
Yeah, I mean, when you think back kind of to the mid 2005, 6, till 2010. I mean, having Kieran and Robes at the same time was almost like a cheat code. It's when you think back, it's just incredible, because Kieran, even towards the end of his career, was still absolutely doing it. I remember that we were in holiday with the last league game at Knowsley Road, the game against Cass, and there was only Shannon and I watching that game in a bar. Everybody else in the park, I asked the barman for one telly. Everybody else was sitting watching X Factor, which says a lot about people. And when Kieran scored that try in the final seconds to get us the margin of victory we needed, I was jumping about and celebrating like a madman, and people must have thought, geez, that boy really likes the X Factor. They couldn't see what I was watching. But that's a brilliant memory of Kieran that I've got from that. And I was lucky enough to be down for the Huddersfield game, which was the very last first team game, and he scored the last try that night as well. Yeah. But when Kieran get tired, bringing Robes off the bench, I mean, that seems unfair to everybody else at that time, doesn't it? But what a pairing they were.
It certainly does. But there's going to be plenty of stories, and not only that, it's about the future. So while you've got the current incumbents and you've got two absolute greats of the game who've pulled on the Sage shirt, it's about the future. It's about being able to send these academy lads and have this unique experience for them, which some of our other players have gone down and done and been all the better for. So it'll be an interesting evening, I think, and one to look forward to. Look out for more raffles and auctions and everything like that in the coming days. In fact, I'll even put days in there.
Oh, yeah, a little teaser campaign.
A little teaser, because Redvee are getting involved. We're a little bit delayed, but they are getting involved. But yeah, as I say, we'll retweet and we'll share everything. If you've got Dave Howard's number already stored into your phone, which I think quite a few Saints fans might have, you can get in touch with him and get your tickets that way. For those of you who haven't, we'll share the details, but they are up on the Saints website. Right, Peter, let's move on to the main event of this week. It is the Magic Weekend, resplendent in blue there. Our squad, 4 changes, where we have been shorn, obviously, of Matt Purcell with an Achilles injury, Lewis Dodd with a bicep injury, Darrell Clark with what is suspected to be a broken foot, Morgan Knowles for, I'm not even going to try and defend the challenge that he's been banned for. I think that's one that you look at and you go, yeah, it's the last tackle of the set, what I'm thinking, but move on. And coming in are George Delaney, Johnny Vaughan, Will Roberts, and Leon Cowan. Where to start with this one? Well, we'll start at halfback. We'll start halfback. Who for you is going to sit in the spine, in fact? Fullback, 2 halves, 9 and 13. Who would you go with?
Right. Well, first of all, Magic Weekend and most of our squads disappeared. Fantastic. Thanks, Paul Daniels. Well, it's tricky. The way I've looked at it, Kev, obviously we were in contact earlier, and I think what I would do and what I think Wello might well do is have as few positional changes as possible from the guys who are already there. We're going to have to make a lot of personnel changes. So I had mused perhaps earlier in the week that they might move Harry Robertson to halfback, but then it means you're perhaps bringing in John Bennison, moving T. Ritson to the other side, or moving Tommy into centre. You're making too many changes. For me, my spine is young Harry at full-back. He's playing well there. A lot of people will balk at this and won't like it, but I'm putting as your 6 and 7 effectively, Ben Davis and Moses and By. Is it exciting? No. Will it do the job that we'll have to do on Saturday in terms of strategy? Yeah, I think so. Hooker, I'm starting Jake Burns. Spellingham will be, for me, James Bell, and because I'm starting, as Wello did at Wigan, and I think he might go this way again with Iggy at loose forward, try and absolutely dominate and smash them up front, so that when we're getting to the last, the likes of Ben and Moses, their kicking game is going to be a lot more dangerous because we're closer to their line, because we're making the meters, we're winning the collisions. That's what I would do, because I think, not sounding negative, but I think that's the only way that we are able to win this game on Saturday, absolutely smashing them up front.
Yeah, I mean, I've gone with similar. It's not ideal, and I think people will be looking and saying, well, why is Will Roberts not in your thinking? I just think with too many young players in your spine, is there enough experience there? And I know people have got downers on Ben Davies. We haven't at Redvee. We think that, listen, he does what he needs to. He's not Jamie Lyon, nor should he be thought of as a Jamie Lyon. Some people seem to think that every reserve player should be as good as an Aussie star.
See, they're almost, I think the young players, the Saints Academy is almost the victim of its own success, because everyone's expecting the next hooker to come through is going to be as good as James Roby. Yeah, the next centre, Ben Davis, he's going to be the next Mark Percival. But these are their own players. I think Ben's a victim of his own success, as he can play very well in a lot of positions. Whereas if he was just a good centre, people say, well, he's a good player. But because he's played centre, he's played in the halves, he's played loose forward, he's played second row. He's willing to fill in. For the, maybe to the detriment of his own performance for the good of the team. And I think that says a lot about a young guy, because he might want to establish himself, and it might ultimately end up with him leaving Saints in a year or so. But he's a guy that never lets you down. Is he the best player in the world? No. Is he an absolute, honest, hard worker who'll run his blood to water? You better believe it.
Couldn't put it better. I was thinking about the spine that I would go with as well. I've just got a feeling that Burns will start on the bench. Now, then you start thinking, well, who's going to play at 9? People who watch this will absolutely know that I hate playing a non-9 at 9. But I can see someone like James Bell starting at 9 just for the experience, and so you don't lose that kind of zip from Jake Burns. If you do
Yeah.
start Jake Burns at 9, you possibly put Johnny Vaughan on the bench. He has played it, and again, this is the old same as Jake Winfield, who's better in the pack, same as Morgan Knowles, who's better at 13.
Yes.
He's played a little bit of hooker in his junior rugby, so he can do it. But I've just got a feeling. I've got a feeling that Parsi starts at 13. I've got a feeling we go with a absolutely a big pack.
Yeah.
Because, and I'll go on to the next slide for now. The players that are missing from both teams here, I don't see that this is going to be as high quality as it could be. If it ends up being an exciting game, it's an exciting game despite missing all these players. So you can see Wigan are missing 6, 7, 9 from their spine.
As are we. Yeah,
we're missing 1, 6, 7, 9, 13 from our spine. It's going to be in spite of missing these. If it's a good, exciting, fast game, unfortunately, I think same as you can just see this being a forward battle, and you're just getting the win by whatever means necessary.
And despite what we were saying earlier about we need to play at times a lot more rugby and move the ball, there are occasions where that doesn't matter and it's getting the job done. And this is one such occasion, to be absolutely honest. I mean, Wigan might well have been the same frame of mind. I would say they've probably still got, in terms of their outside backs, they might still have the advantage there.
Yeah.
Certainly on the wing overall, but if we're putting them under pressure and they're not getting the chance to, to have a platform for these guys, then, they almost become, they're almost kind of out of the game. The only thing you mentioned about James Bell, I can see Wello doing that. My only concern would be that I don't know, how's James Bell's kicking? Whereas if you've got Moses and Ben, both of them are a kicking option. Whereas if you've got Ben with, James Bell, then every kick in the last is going to be to Ben Davis. He's going to get them under pressure. That's the only thing I'm thinking about myself.
Yeah, sorry, Bell at 9. I think Bell at 9. I think because Ben Davis has played halves and he can. I mean, he's got a boot on him, my lad.
Yeah.
I think they will play at 6. That's what I think will happen anyway.
Yeah.
I'm the same as you. I don't think there'll be as few changes as possible in your positions, because you've got to find a new left centre, which I've put down as you potentially put Matt Whitley in there for a couple of weeks.
That's an option. That is certainly an option. It depends what you do there. Option but the team I had looked at myself, I put Johnny Vaughan straight in there. Because obviously you look at if we had Matautia here, I would have said stick Whitley there, because then you can have Batch and Cyril starting and Matautia coming off the bench. But obviously we don't have him. I think we'll still need Matt Whitley as one of the back rowers. So I thought, and then obviously they could be interchangeable potentially as well, depending on how the game's going. That was my thinking. My other thought was, do you put do you put Tommy Mack at centre and maybe bring in John Bennison? But again, too many unnecessary changes. We've already got enough changes there. And that's the reason why I wouldn't bring in Roberts at halfback. If Johnny Lomax was there and none of the other spine was there, so put him in there because Johnny can guide him. But if you're putting him in there with Moses, who's not a natural halfback, or with Ben Davis, it's too much to ask for me. But I think, go big. And have Delaney and Stevens on the bench as well. Bring these guys on for Big Al and Iggy. Matty Lees can do 80 minutes in his sleep, not a problem. And I think we get a team like that, and I think we'll give ourselves at least a shot at it.
Yeah, that's it. Here's one for you. Just a really quick throwaway question: who's captain? Who would your captain be?
My captain in that team would be Tommy Mack. Longevity in the team, the experience as a player. He's always one he seems to be talking to the players. He's a good communicator. I think he probably would communicate well with referees as well. The same in rugby union. Sometimes you don't want a captain that's a winger or a full back. You want somebody that's in the middle of the park, close to the referee, but it's slightly different in league. So for me, Tommy Mack gets the armband and thoroughly deserves it.
It's only I asked that because there was one point, I think it was after the sin binnings late on last week, that the ref called 2 players over.
Yeah.
Because Morgan Knowles had been sin binned.
Yes.
And the player he called over from Saints was young Matthew Lees. And if Matthew Lees is captain, that will absolutely make my Saturday. It will make my Saturday for no other reason that I just think that, you know what, as you say, you've got someone in the centre, a prop captain in you, who I don't think years ago I would have said that Matty Lees would be a captain, but it'd be interesting to see who leads us out.
Well, that is, I mean, Matty Lees is a guy who I think, well, he definitely does every week lead by example. And if we go down the route of giving Matty the armband in, everyone will go, right, he's putting that effort in, he's putting his body in the line, I'm following him, I'm doing exactly the same. But I mean, either would be a great captain. But if I had to make the decision, which, face it, would be a very strange set of circumstances, I would give it to Tommy. But then, that's just me.
You've got a couple of options, haven't you? You've got Tommy, you've got Alex, you've got Joe Batch, you've got Moses. Yeah, there's plenty there.
Yeah.
Because in the interest of balance, we're going to do 2 minutes talking about this squad. Wigan have named obviously they're 21 ahead of Magic Weekend. Tom Forber and Taylor Kerr come in for Harry Smith, who was banned after going to the tribunal, and Ryan Hampshire. And I think that squad takes us back to that list. I think it just does take us back to that list. That once again, as you say, they've got the strike in the outside backs.
Yeah.
They've got striking Jai Field.
Yeah.
But they are missing a big kicking game from Harry Smith.
Yeah.
They're missing. I said this about Bevan French. I said sometimes I don't think he knows what he's doing, and I don't mean that in a disparaging way. What I mean is he's
not at all.
Off the cuff.
Yeah.
That his players expect anything and everything. So he might put a little kick in, he might run, he might pass, and he keeps defences guessing, which is
well, that's the thing. And what you need in that instance is players, as you said, who know that and who are switched on and ready. Like the try that he got at Saints when they ultimately lost, defensively we can say, oh, it wasn't great, but from him, it was on the last, just down in the right-hand corner. It was a magic bit of skill.
Yeah.
Just out of nothing, with hardly any space. But that's what they're missing. But they do still have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So they're going to have a full back in their 3 quarters in their team and available to them. As you say, like us, it's the halfbacks and direction at 9 that's going to be a slight issue. But it might not be the most exciting game, but, darts sometimes is rubbish. They keep missing, but it's still exciting. Even if they're missing the doubles, it still makes it exciting. So this could be something similar.
It could be. I actually think Brad O'Neill's one of the bigger misses from Wigan. There, I think he's been great from this season.
Very underrated.
Yeah, and I think that quite a few of the fans are happy, from what I've seen on social media, that Ryan Hampshire isn't actually in the 21. I don't think we've been enthused with his performances, which joined the club with some of the ones that we've gone through in the past couple of weeks or so.
Yeah.
So we're calling it attritional, Peter. We're calling it. It could go. It could be anything. So prediction time.
I mean, I literally think anything is possible on Saturday. Any type of game. It could be attritional, but they could just surprise us and both teams could end up scoring a bucket load of tries.
Absolutely defensive horror show.
It could be, or it could be a 2020 grand final type of game again. Yeah. Any way that gets a Saints win is fine by me. I'm not going to come on here and predict a Wigan win. Even though people might say, well, it's perhaps more likely, but then again, people watching this are not Saints fans. One, what are you doing? Two, you've got to expect us to be biased. We try to be fair. We spoke kindly about Wigan there. They're good players that they're missing. But we're not predicting anything other than a Saints win. Saints by 2.
Yeah, I think that's also someone on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it these days, saying that this is probably the best time to be playing Saints for them, even though they're missing like quite a bit of their spine. One thing they have done is they've played a game more than we have. So we both played on the 26th of July.
Yeah.
And they had 5 days with nothing before the next game, which was Huddersfield, which they won. Then they had 4 games and they played Leigh and Leigh, as they always do.
They had a training, a kind of a live training session.
Yeah. Then they had 3 days in between games. Then they went and lost to Leeds. Now they've had 6 to get ready for us.
Yeah.
We've got to hope, I think, with the numbers that we're missing, I think we've got to hope that we're getting another flat performance from Wigan, and we can try and take some kind of. We've had an 8-day in between games turnaround. I think we need to kind of go with that, and I'd quite happily take Saints by 6 or 7 right now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know whether it's in our favour that Leeds gave Wigan a pasting last week and they'll have been beasted in training. Or will they have been beasted in training, or will they have been rested because they need a rest? We don't know. But I expect good teams usually offer up a reaction after a poor performance. And playing Saints, wherever it is, Wigan are going to be right up for it.
Yeah.
But start fast and let's just see how tired they are. That's why another reason why we go big in the pack. Try and just win the horrible grind, attritional part of it, and hope we've got enough in our creative players to win 8-6. We don't care. Any win.
Fair enough.
2-0. 2-0. I don't care. I literally couldn't care less.
Have a pound on no try score if it's going to be 2-0 then. Be about 200 to 1 or something like that. Bet responsibly. When the fun stop, as we always say as well. Right, Peter.
And a good comment coming towards the end of the show as well. When
the
fun stops.
Exactly. I think it stopped a long while ago.
I think I'm speaking on behalf of the viewers there, probably.
Yeah. Right, on that note, Peter, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
And we'll catch you after the game at Ellen Road. Right, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you again soon.